Welcome back. The KwaZulu-Natal Public Works and Infrastructure Department plans to release 86 of its buildings and vacant land plots to the public. The department says the 120 million rand worth of assets are no longer useful to it and believes the public would benefit more from them. The province's Public Works spokesperson, Steve Bhengu, joins us now for more. Steve, a very good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. Let's begin with just an overview of the recent audit that was conducted on the government buildings in KZN, its findings, and what criteria was used to classify certain buildings as underutilized or deadweight.
Thank you so much, Katlego. Good evening to you and your listeners at home. Just on the audit process, that is still underway, but it is near completion. And we're hoping that in the next few months, the department will then be basically coming out and taking the public into its confidence about that. But it is very much near completion. But, you also touch on a right sort of intro because the disposal of these 86 assets happens within the context of the department trying to figure out what it has in its books and what really needs to work for it. So just to take you back a bit, we had our very successful Build KZN Better conference in Durban, where 500 delegates from various sectors, captains of industry, finance, investors, and infrastructure, all came down to the Durban ICC. And from there, various issues were unpacked and resolutions were concluded on. And from there, a blueprint document, which is still very much in the making, came out of that. Now, some short-term resolutions were easily adaptable. And one of them is that we need to relook at what assets we have in our books and whether these assets are still very much useful. So this goes back to a mandate that MEC Martin Meyer gave out to say Public Works needs to be a department that works for the public again, but it cannot do so if it's sitting with dead weight assets. So looking at these 86 assets that we're disposing of right now, these have been identified as not adding any real value. So in essence, we're giving them back to the community and then they can use them beneficially. And that is basically how we're giving back to the province of KZN.
So you speak about in real terms, this amount would be of 24.3 million rands in annual rates that you would be saving as a department. So just talk to us in terms of when you say you're giving back to the community, what's the strategy there? What's the process? Who would be more eligible to acquire some of these buildings? Are there specific people that you're targeting in ensuring that certain service delivery is still ensured when you dispose of these buildings?
So that just under 25 million rand figure is basically what the department was paying in the form of rates for these 86 assets. Now, these are both land plots and actual buildings. Now, the issue of rates is quite a problematic one for the department. It drains the department severely. To put it into context, at one point, the department was paying 800 million rands. That's close to 1 billion rands in rates alone. But that is going to be expected that being a landlord department, rates are going to apply. However, the way going forward is to always mitigate them, because you do understand that we live in quite a stressful financial environment, and the more rates we pay means that money cannot go elsewhere. So with these 86 disposed assets, now 25 million rand is now freed up for the department to be able to use these assets in other areas which have been identified as priorities. And in terms of who we will be prioritizing and identifying, so being a disposal process, anyone who wants to bid can come forward. Obviously, there are conditions attached and those will be vetted. But if someone comes forward and says, look, I'm part of an NGO or I want to build a school, we will give them preference. And we will do this perhaps in looking at, can they afford the property outright, or perhaps would they be looking for a long-term lease? Now, this is part of also MEC Mayor's mandate to say we need to be at the forefront of job creation and skills development. So just to take you back a bit, over the last few weeks, MEC Martin Meyer has been crisscrossing the province, engaging with stakeholders such as TVET colleges, private trainers, private players, as well as the Department of higher education, to see how we can better work together, especially when it comes to the EPWP program, which is basically the department's artisanship program, where candidates who come out of it are qualified and can be skilled plumbers, bricklayers, boil makers, and that sort of thing. So that's how we directly then create our contribution towards jobs development and skills development. So in this process as well of disposing of these assets, we've said that therefore we will prioritize those who use these assets for the greater good and such mandates which uplift local communities.
Any risks of these assets being sold off cheaply and possibly landing in the wrong hands? How are you looking to mitigate such?
So our committee, which will be dealing with this, is obviously going to be vetting all those who come forward to bid for these properties, and obviously there will be terms and conditions which will be communicated to the bidders, and obviously these will help in screening the process and making sure that it's fair. Also going back to the issue of the leases, perhaps for NGOs, because now they'll be likely leasing below market rate, then provincial treasury will obviously be roped in, and then once that's approved, then that can go ahead. But the entire process is very much in line with Section 5 of the KZN Land Administration Act, which calls for the process to be fully transparent and that all steps must be disclosed. So it very much is all above board, and all steps will be taken so that the process goes through smoothly, and those who are the rightful beneficiaries actually end up benefiting from this entire process.
And are there any concerns related to job security, especially for those that are currently working in these buildings as security personnel, cleaning staff? How's that going to impact that community?
So the department has an ongoing relationship with those entities that provide security. So they'll be engaged, obviously. But you will remember also that, Katleho, that where we are able to save, that is primarily our mandate. And we also were paying a lot of money for properties that were sitting vacant, for them to be protected and so forth. So these are then going to free up for us to be able to prioritize other avenues as well. But all relevant stakeholders will be very much consulted. Katlego, I think it's important to mention that these are very much steps that we are taking in what MEC Mortimer is calling our drive towards a leaner and cleaner KZN Public Works. So to give you more perspective in this, some of the things that we've achieved in a short space of time is to take our overdraft from 900 million rands, that's very much just under 1 billion rands, to virtually where we are sitting today. It's very much within the 30-day period. So what the overdraft really is that these are monies that were owed to contractors that couldn't be paid for various reasons. Some had not seen payment in months, weeks, even years. You might remember that a while back, some of them even expressed their grievances. MEC Mortimer dropped everything he did and went to meet with them at our provincial head office in Pietermaritzburg, and that's where they expressed their grievances as well. So right now where we are is that the overdraft is virtually come down to be within a 30-day period, but that's not it. Also going forward, we're also going to be having our contractors in Bizo, which is to say we've realized that there's a lot of grievances among various stakeholders, including consultants and stakeholders and contractors. So this Imbizo will bring all these players together under one room, and it's going to be a chance for us to exchange, to hear from them what they expect from us and what we expect from them. So to give you in essence what we're basically delivering in this package is that we'll be having officials from the departments, let's say maybe from SARS, CIDB, our procurement agency officers, our risk assessment officers, and then they're basically going to be outlining what it takes to be a player as a contractor within the department. Because one of the issues that we've discovered is that a lot of contractors are not sure really what the processes are, and some are trying to move upgrades, but they're not sure exactly where exactly they fall. So we will be releasing obviously details around this. One, it's called the Contractors in Bizo, and the big one is coming up in the next few weeks in eThekwini.
All right, Steve, thank you so much for your time and for giving us your insights this evening. We certainly do hope that many of those interested parties, especially NGOs that would plow back into the communities, would be bidding for some of those properties that you have up for grabs in the KZN province. So that was the department's spokesperson for Public Works, Steve Bhengu.